Ladies and gentlemen, shit has hit the fan. I know a lot of people were hating on last week's UFC card going into it. For one, I like fights. I like watching fights. So because Main on MMA likes to watch fights, I watch these fights. Also, I like to play DraftKings, maybe a cheap little $5 game. I'll play DraftKings. And I mention this because the man of the hour, the man in question, Isaac Dulgarian, all right? He was a heavy favorite going into his fight against some guy. I forget the name of the guy. I expected that guy to get ran through. It was the exact opposite. Isaac Dulgarian got grapple fucked and subbed in the first round. And the underdog wins, you know what I'm saying? Apparently, just a little background before we get into this James Lynch video. Apparently, hella bets came in on that guy who won. All of a sudden, bets came in on that guy to win. The underdog, it started to shift to the point that they took away betting lines. They took away prop bets for Dulgarian because all of a sudden shady bets came in. He used to train with James Krauss, who's under investigation, was arrested, right? By the FBI for doing just this. He was trained by James Krauss. Isaac Dulgarian may have had an injury going into the fight, let some people know, and hella bets came in. It's the same thing like what's happening with the NBA right now. They haven't mentioned any mob families here just yet, but we'll see. Let's check out this video from the boy James Lynch. Apparently, there's some developments with Isaac Dulgarian and this cheating scandal.
Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that UFC featherweight Isaac Dulgarian has been released from his contract. This according to Ariel Helwani last night. We'll go through some of the tweets. If you guys haven't been paying attention, I did a video on this already. There was a lot of shady stuff that went into that loss that Isaac Dulgarian had over the weekend. This is definitely tied together. So let's go through the tweets, then I'll give you my thoughts on everything else. So from Uncrowned, Ariel Helwani.
Yadier
Isaac Dulgarian
del
has been released by
Valle.
the UFC, sources tell Ariel Helwani. Dulgarian was submitted Saturday night by Yadier del Valle, and the bout has been the center of controversy after a ton of money started to come in on Dulgarian to lose in the first round. Again, I have a video on this. I'll post that in the description. Again, Ariel had some tweets earlier saying he was released. Official reason was attributed to last night's loss. However, that bout has been the center of controversy after a ton of money started coming in. A sizable favorite to lose in the first, which is what happened. There's a story all Uncrowned.
The prop for him to lose in the first is what hella money started going in on. That's crazy. Yeah, that seems like straight up like fraud or whatever you call it. Whatever the crime is for telling these people this is gambling fraud or whatever, he's doing it. This is clear. If bets suddenly started to come in that he was going to lose in the first round, that is insane.
Much more on this and the other wackiness on at the top of the show. So Ariel will address this tomorrow. Dulgarian was 1-3 heading into the fight last night with his lone loss being a split decision to Christian Rodriguez. And I referenced that in the other video. I just wanted to show people about that last loss. That was, in 2024. A lot of people felt like Dulgarian won that fight against Christian Rodriguez. So I've heard some people try and argue like, oh, Dulgarian wasn't that good. This isn't a big deal. He clearly won the fight previously. That's what makes this fight so weird, was the fact that Dulgarian, again, the money's coming in. Dulgarian was a favorite going into the fight. He, had looked good in all of his fights, even in this one. He looked good. A lot of people felt like he did enough to get the decision here. And then he gets finished in the first round. That's why it's such a bad look here. I see all these people giving me different examples like, oh, this happens all the time. But again, with Dulgarian, there was a lot of promise there, really good prospect in the division. And they're not just going to cut a guy after 2 losses, unless like you miss weight or something bad happens. Like Ariel clearly says here in the tweet, this was related to the shadiness of what happened in that fight. I can't wait to watch Ariel today when the MMA hour comes on. This is crazy. Like, if you guys are aware of this or aren't aware of this scandal
currently going on. The FBI arrested Chauncey fucking Billups, dude. I used to love Chauncey Billups. I used to love that fucking Detroit Pistons team. You know what I'm saying? With Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Chauncey Billups, and who's the fucking guy? I feel like there's one more guy that I'm forgetting. It's Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton. Rip fucking Hamilton. That was the squad. That was the squad. Was Darko Milicic? I think Darko Milicic was on that bench. But shout out to that Piston squad. The FBI arrested fucking Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier about illegal gambling. They arrested Damon Jones. They said there was a game where the Lakers were about to play my Milwaukee Bucks, ladies and gents. All right, they're coming in town to play my Milwaukee Bucks. And apparently Damon Jones, who is or was LeBron James' personal shooting coach at the time, he started giving people information that LeBron wasn't going to play. And they started putting bets, like heavy money started coming in on the Bucks to win that game. And I think the Lakers were the favorite. And then it was announced LeBron was going to be out. And then boom, the odds clearly switched without LeBron. But that's illegal. That's fucking illegal. All right. There's a lot going on with the NBA. There's a lot. People there's like poker games, the mafia, the fucking mafia, using Chauncey Billups apparently and Kevin Garnett, all these basketball players to get millionaire pro poker players in on these rigged poker games. And if people didn't want to pay because they're like, yo, this shit is clearly rigged, they fucking held them at gunpoint until they fucking agreed to pay that cash, ladies and gents. It's crazy. It's crazy. James Krauss, former coach of Isaac Dulgarian, was arrested for giving out similar information, letting people know in his Discord, bet against my fighter. And then that fighter would fucking get ran through in the first round, just like Isaac Dulgarian. This is crazy. It's crazy, ladies and gents. How is this happening?
You know, most people watching my video the other day on Dulgarian were kind of like, yeah, this seems really weird. With the fact that I think the thing that really caught my eye as far as the whole situation was the fact that we had sports books offering credits, essentially not refunds, but offering like wagers to people that had bet on this fight. And we're talking not just like regular sports books. We're talking like William Hill, Caesars. I heard Circa pulled some lines as well. I heard DraftKings pulled some prop lines. Like, this doesn't happen often. I don't know why there's there's a chunk of people out there trying to defend this and be like, nothing bad happened, nothing shady at all. But
something shady clearly happened.
The UFC's releasing him. Like, what more proof do you need? You know, I've heard people talk about the Lucas Almeida and Michael Aswell fight. Yes, there was some line movement there, but again, what you didn't have was books come out and offer credits for the fight or things along those lines. There has been some weird stuff going on this year. Actually, one tweet I wanted to grab here, Harry Mack, and this is something to keep in mind too. Harry's been on the ball with a lot of this, the betting stuff. He had something to mention here. I want to give a shout out to his account. Let's find some of the tweets here.
Great YouTuber, great journalist. Shout out to James Lynch.
He said something about the FBI now. Oh yeah, here we go. He says, very important tidbit here. The FBI notified the UFC of the abnormal action and live movement, gave them hours to pull the fight. They chose to continue. So there could be some stuff going on here. Again, nothing confirmed, but this is also the thing I was referencing where Caesar had actually pulled or actually given credit as well. So that's something to keep in mind here. But Harry, according to Harry, and again, nothing has been officially, confirmed.
Why did they
here,
let that go?
That they're looking.
I'm not saying Dulgarian. I did not put Dulgarian on my DraftKings roster. I saw greener pastures than Dulgarian, and I was wise to avoid. But he was the favorite with averaging plenty takedowns. You know what I'm saying? That's how you score high in DraftKings. I did throw him in a Prize Picks prop bet. So, but I also thought Montserrat wasn't going to land more than 19 strikes. So I'm not upset because that wasn't my only loss in that parlay. But but y'all should have pulled that fight. Y'all had, they said the FBI gave them heads up hours in advance and they could have pulled the fight. And they just chose to put it on, and it went exactly how the weird shit the FBI just told them was going to happen. All this money is coming in saying he's going to lose in the first round. And he goes out and gets dominated in the first round.
Looking into a number of fights here. Let me just find the tweets here. Yeah, it was actually right under Ariel's tweet here. Let me find it right there. He was on here. There we go. Update. Federal regulators have flagged over 100 UFC fights this year for abnormal betting patterns, including 2 additional fighters on last night's card. Stuff's about to get very ugly. Still working on to confirm, but sounds like the feds are moving to audit Herzog's fight. So Jason Herzog. So something to keep an eye on. Again, nothing is confirmed here, but Harry is someone that has been on.
They about to audit Jason Herzog's fights? I mean, it is what it is. This is wild. This is wild.
Really, tweeting about a lot of this stuff, adding some different information in here. I don't know his sources or anything along those lines, but just something to ponder as well. Is this going to lead to something bigger? Remember, I wanted to remind people, and I said this in the last video, like when the whole stuff with James Krauss went down, there were sports books that would not offer any UFC wagers whatsoever because they were worried about the integrity of people betting. So I remember in Canada, for example, like DraftKings and I think a few of the other, I think it was DraftKings or FanDuel, I can't remember, were just like not offering UFC fights at all. That's what the UFC wants to avoid here. They don't want to have something like this come up. So even though Dulgarian gets released, I'm curious to see over the next little bit, is there going to be other stuff that they're going to look into? Another fight that I referenced in my last video and is kind of along the same lines is the Jared Gordon and Rafa Garcia fight, where we find out after the fact that Jared Gordon got in a car accident the day before, and that certainly affected his performance in the fight. I've also heard some people mention this as well, and I'm going to address this in this video too because it kind of ties together. People talking about, hey, fighters aren't getting paid what they should be getting paid. If you're injured and you're not fighting, you need a paycheck. Like, don't blame Dulgarian for doing this. That is an issue. I will address that. I don't think this is the way to handle it. I don't think people should fight when you're totally compromised. Look, every fighter going into a fight is not 100%. We know this. The issue is somehow this information got out that Dulgarian was compromised and people bet, and that's what caused the shitstorm, so to speak, right? Like, we've had fighters that have clearly gone into fights that they were compromised even before the bell started. That sucks. Nobody wants to watch that. I do have empathy for fighters like a Dulgarian who has a family, who needs to pay bills. I understand all that, but yeah, there's got to be a different way here. Maybe the UFC can set something up where if you're not fighting, they can at least take care. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of, and I'll be completely honest, I don't know the ins and outs of if you're injured and you can't fight and you need the money, like what is the solution there? But this is, anytime you're leaking insider information, whether it's a fighter injury, if you're affecting the line, like it clearly did in this case, that's going to look bad as a whole on the company you're working for, and it's not going to look very good. So,
I think they got to start our OnlyFans, and I'm half joking, but it seems to be the only way fighters can support their career outside of fighting injured. Is OnlyFans.
Yeah, like I said, like I understand.
I think Corey Sandhagen
assuming again that
OnlyFans.
He definitely like again. I don't know what he did or how this information got out. They're going to look into all this though. And you look at a guy like Jeff Molina, he's basically been blacklisted from the UFC. James Krauss, like this could ruin Dulgarian's career for what happened here. And obviously some information got out with the simple fact that, again, you've got these sports books offering credits. The UFC has released them. They're trying to get ahead of this. So the question I have is what's going to come out of this further? Are we going to see other fighters involved, coaches, whatever? I mean, we just had this big thing in the NBA and think about the NBA, right? Like, that whole scandal with the NBA players, if you go research it and look it up, I mean, these are players that are getting paid quite well. I think one of the guys involved was getting like $25 million a year or something along those lines, and he still was gambling. So if they're doing it, when you consider how much money they're making, you don't think there's going to be UFC fighters involved in doing this with how they're not even close to being paid like that? There could be. I could understand that with the fact that they're getting paid way less than other professional athletes.
It's funny. I said, shout out to Kunith MMA. He tweeted out some shit and was like, I think like Chael Sonnen or somebody was saying they felt like there should be $1 million bonuses in the UFC. $1 million bonuses. And I said, if I'm on a 15-15 contract, 15 in a show, and only an additional 15 if I win the fight, me and my opponent are on a 15-15, and we know if we can put on a dramatic looking fight of the night fake performance, right? He just knocks this dude out or chokes him out in a wild scramble, crazy, insane first round, just to try to get like performance of the night. I was like, if we're on a 15-15, if me and my opponent are coming in on a 15-15 and there's $1 million bonus, some Terry Rozier action will be had. And it's already being had. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy that I said that it will be had and it's still being had. I thought people would have been spooked out of this with James Krauss, with Dulgarian's former coach, James Krauss, but people are still doing over 100 fights they flagged this year. It's crazy.
Athletes. I'm not saying it's right, but I also understand that it could potentially happen here. My whole thing with the fighters is, did you not see what happened to James Krauss, Derek Minner, Jeff Molina, that whole situation? Like, to potentially have your career ruined, it's too much of a risk, in my opinion. So yeah, we'll sort of see what happens. Again, there's been no release statement by Dulgarian. I doubt Dulgarian's doing any media right now because of the fact that there's probably going to be other parties involved here. I'm curious, like Mark Montoya, his coaches, is anyone going and talking to them? Did any of that get leaked out? Like, who knows how far this goes? But this could be like a total can of worms. And like I said, the big sort of hammer that's dropped here now is the fact that Dulgarian's been released. So all the people in the comments on my other video, can you please acknowledge this? Why would they release Isaac Dulgarian if nothing fishy was going on? There's been a few people in the comments, like, viciously defending Dulgarian, being like, nothing happened. You're making too much of a big deal of this. Oh, or how about the crowd of the people that are saying that, like, oh, I knew Dulgarian was going to lose. That's not the point of the video. The point of the video and this entire situation is that there was insider information leaked out. People then rushed to bet DeVille in this fight, and it caused this big controversy. It's not whether you thought DeVille won or not. It's also not it's not right to say that Dulgarian has is not guilty and then he's just not a good fighter. Like, none of that. It doesn't matter. The facts are the facts. Let's go over the facts. The facts are he is released. Sportsbooks were offering refunds. There was line movement. That is not something you see in every single fight. So you can bring all the examples you want in the world to me. The only example that's similar to this is the Derek Minner and the what was it? Who, I can't even remember who his opponent was, but it wasn't Machate. It was Nuremberg, I think, was who he fought in that fight. I'm going to go look it up because someone in the comments is going to be like, this is who he was fighting. Which, by the way, they never overturned that fight. Well, I mean, Minner lost anyways, but yeah, what fight was it? It was, Nuremberg. That was the fight. November 2022. I mean, we're talking almost 3 years ago, and now we're getting a similar incident. Very, very crazy stuff there. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you think more stuff is going to come out of this with other fighters or maybe even people involved in this situation? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments.
I think, shout out to James Lynch. Dope video, dope journalist. I would say it's definitely going to be a lot more of this coming out. They just don't make enough. And as he mentioned here, as I mentioned before, even people like Terry Rozier, who's making about $25 million a year, is being arrested for purposefully going and getting the unders. taking himself out of games so he doesn't hit the overs. You know what I'm saying? So his friends can make $100,000. So his friend can make $200,000. It's really weird. It's really weird. But if it's happening over there with these fucking millionaires, these people are making insane amounts of money. I know it's weird to me when I watch videos and they'll be like, I don't think this guy deserves $38 million. And it's like, dude, you have no idea how much that money is. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You don't think he deserves $38 million? If they're willing to give that guy $38 million, let whoever give him $38 million, all right? I think he deserves about $20 million. What are you talking about? You don't know what that means. You don't know what that means. But it's definitely happening over here with these broke ass niggas. You know how often these fighters come in and they'll be posting like, I'm in the negative in my bank account. I'm living outside of my car before this. Jeff Neal was still waiting tables in between fights. Joaquin Buckley was he was a shift supervisor at Walgreens. Like for a few fights still in the UFC, a shift supervisor at Walgreens with highlight knockouts. You know what I'm saying? He did that Impa Kasaganai knockout and he was still a shift supervisor at Walgreens. Some Terry Rozier action will be had and it will continue to be had. Ladies and gents, head on over to James Lynch. Give him a like. Give him a subscribe. Let him know your boy sent you. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comments, ladies and gents. Do you think Dulgarian is innocent? There's no possible way. No possible way he's innocent. But let me know. Let me know your arguments. People were arguing a lot of nonsense in my last video. They're arguing with me, but they're arguing against Mighty Mouse. Right? They're arguing against Mighty Mouse's opinion in my last video. But they think they're arguing with me. That's it. You're arguing his opinion. And you're not even talk to him. Talk to Mighty Mouse. But thank you guys for being here once again, and I will see you guys when I see you soon.